Good morning. We will do a question on bank reconciliation and debtors reconciliation. Normally it's not in one question, but they can ask it as one question. So I want you to understand exactly how you have to do this so that you know what you must think out will go into the bank recon and what must go into the debtors and the debtors list. Okay, so first of all, they are giving us balances. So I'm going to start my debtors control with a balance on the debit side. The bank has a balance of 50,000. The total of the debtors list is 15,455, and the balance according to the bank statement, and they say it's a credit balance. So remember, when we have a favorable balance, we will have it on the debit side of the bank. When the business have a bank account in the books of the bank, they will treat your account as a creditor, like a liability, because they owe you the money. Okay, so the favorable balance according to the bank statement is 56970. So if you have a bank statement and there's a debit and a credit, it means that on the credit side your balance will increase and on the debit side it will decrease. So it will be the opposite of what you do in your bank account. In my books I will show bank will increase on the debit side and decrease on the credit side. Okay, then they also show you that they've already done the cash receipts and cash payments journal from the 1st of June up to the end of the month. So it means the balance that they give you for the bank was on the 1st of June. That was the balance brought down at the end of the previous month. So we first have to record these two entries and indicate that the money in the bank increased with our total receipts received up to the end of the month before we've done the adjustments and additional entries, and that is 7,700. And then on the credit side we will show that our total payments up to the end of the month that was already recorded in the cash payments journal is 8,420 rand. So the first thing that you have to do is you have to complete all the opening balances, read very carefully and look at the date. So this date is on the 1st of June, indicating to you that they haven't recorded any entries in your bank account during June because they give you the balance at the beginning of June. In debtors control, the balance is given at the end of the month, so they've already recorded all the entries in the debtors control except the additional information that we will do now. Okay, so if we look at number 1, the bank statement reflected the following entries that had not been recorded in the subsidiary journals. So everything from A to G was already recorded in the bank statement, and it was not recorded in our journal, so it means we have to record all those entries. Now if they say interest on a credit balance, it means in their books it will be on the credit side, so in my books it will be on the debit side. So I will indicate that we received interest, and my bank account is called a current account, so it's interest on current account, and that will give me 5 rand. Okay, and then I will credit my interest on current account to indicate that we have an income. Okay, the second one is for bank charges that we have to pay to the bank, so the bank will be credited to reduce the amount of money in the bank, and my bank charges account will be debited to increase the expense. a stop order for the monthly rent. Now, stop order is also a payment out of my bank account, so it's basically the same principle as a EFT, except that I tell the bank that they must pay over this amount every month. I sign a document at the bank. So that means we will show here that we paid money, and I will debit rent expense with the 800 Rand, and the bank decreased with 800. A direct deposit of 4,300 on the 30th of June in settlement of her account for tennis rackets she bought on credit 2 months ago for 4,440. Now, this entry indicates that there's a lot of things that we have to do. First of all, in the bank, we must indicate that we received 4,300, and we must indicate that the debtors owe us 4,300. So I will show that the debtors control account will be credited and my bank account will be debited to increase the amount of money in the bank with 4,300, and my debtors control is credited to reduce the outstanding debt with 4,300. Okay, and they say this is in settlement of account of 4,440. So I must determine what is the difference between the two so that I can see how much is the discount. And the discount that we allowed was 140. Now, the discount is not recorded in the bank because it's not money, but we will credit the debtors control account and indicate that the debt is reduced with the amount, and we will debit discount allowed to indicate that we have an expense of 140. Now, what's very important, if we haven't recorded this at all until we've seen the bank statement, it means that we still have to record this in our debtors ledger as well. So we have to show that this debtor owes us 440 Rand. So I will show that I will record this in the personal account in the debtors ledger, 4,440, and that means that my debtors owe less money. Okay, an EFT for 3,000 received in settlement of account of 3,200. So here again, first of all, we receive 3,000. So we will indicate that my bank must increase with 3,000. We received the money from a debtor, so debtors control will be credited with a 3,000. But we also allow discount on this entry, so it means that I must determine what is the discount, and if I subtract the 3,200 and the 3,000, I can see that we allow discount of 200 Rand. So my debtors will also owe this discount amount, and we will increase our discount allowed on the debit side. Now, we haven't recorded that in the journal, so it means that we also didn't record it into the person's personal account. So we will show in our debtors list that we have to reduce this account with a payment and the discount. Okay, then EFT of the amount of 3,500 was received from the Jager on the 31st of May. So that was the end of the previous month. And because we didn't receive the bank statement at that stage, it means that we didn't record this entry. So we have to show that we received this 3,560 for cash sales. So the bank was debited. Sales will be credited with the 3,560. So people can either go to the shop and buy goods with a debit card or an EFT, or they can order the goods and then they pay you with EFT, and it means it's money that will increase in the bank. This is a cash sale, so it will have nothing to do with the debtors. Okay, an EFT for the amount of 1250 was received from Perfect Nails for rent. Okay, so that was also paid in after we received the previous month's bank statement. So we have to indicate in the bank that we received 1,250 and we will credit rent income. Okay, so what's very important for each one of these, as you read it, you must determine immediately whether it will affect the bank and the debtors or whether it will just affect the bank account. Okay, debit card payment of 1,500 for inventories purchase was not recorded on the bank statement. So if the bank must still record the entry, we will record it in my bank reconciliation. We made a payment, so the payment will decrease the amount of money that we have in the bank. So I will show that there's an outstanding debit card payment. So the business can either pay with an EFT or they can pay with their debit card. The debit card is linked to their bank account and the bank will pay the money out immediately, transfer the money from the account of the business to the account of the recipient. Okay, direct deposit of Run Flores Run 5,000 was not credited by the bank, so it means that we recorded this deposit. They still have to do it, so it will be recorded in the bank reconciliation to indicate that the bank must still record this entry. And this amount will increase the amount in the bank with 5,000 rand. An amount of 340 for tennis dresses sold on 22nd of June was recorded as 304 in the debtors journal. Now, if we make a mistake in the journal, it means that we will post this incorrect amount to the personal account of the customer, and we will also add the incorrect amount in the total. So the debtors control will be incorrect because we posted the wrong total, and it will also appear in your debtors list because we took the wrong amount. So now if you look at this, it was recorded as 304. It was supposed to be 340, so it means it must be increased with 36 rand. So I will debit my debtors control with 36 rand for the credit sales to correct that mistake that we made, the difference between the 340 and the 304. Now, because the mistake was also made in the journal, it means it was also the wrong amount in the debtor's account. So we will go to his personal account and I will show that the amount in the personal account must increase with 36 rand. Okay, then an amount of 500 for goods purchased on credit from a creditor was recorded as credit sales in the debtors ledger. So this entry will have no effect on the bank. This amount was not supposed to be in the debtors ledger, so it means that we must take it out of the debtors ledger. And we will, in the debtors ledger, show that the amount was taken to the person's account incorrectly, and I will show that this amount is not owed by the debtor, so I must subtract the amount. Okay, if I add up the total of my debtors list will give me 7,351. So it means any entry that was not recorded in the individual account because there was a mistake in the journal, or there was just a mistake in the individual account, will be corrected in the debtors list. If there was a mistake in the journal, we will correct it in the debtors control because the total will incorrect. And if there's anything that was not recorded or not corrected, we will also record it in the debtors control account. Okay, so if I calculate the balance in my debtors control account, I get 7,351. That indicates to me that I've corrected all the mistakes and I recorded all the additional entries because the balance in the debtors control and the balance in the debtors list is now the same. Okay, if I look at my bank account and I balance my bank account, I will have a balance carried down to the next month of 60,470. Okay, if I add up the amount in my bank reconciliation, it gives me 60,470. And that indicates now that the balance in my books, in the bank account, and after the bank recorded these two additional entries will be the same. So we corrected all the mistakes.